my face.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice.
All right, let's do this. Eric, I'm going to introduce you some people on this call so you know who's on here. And
Okay.
so I'm going to start with just wave. I'm going to introduce you. Just wave your hand when I introduce you. So April in Madera, California. And Brian, you're going to be sharing a little bit about social media here, right? In Stanton
great.
County here. Nancy and Nancy White and Howard in Tuolumne County.
Okay.
Ken in Manteca.
Uh-huh.
And Tony and Sonomi, I can never say your town right. I'm Sonomi.
Snoqualmie.
Snoqualmie. I'm just not good at that word. In Washington State, and then Corey in Colorado Springs, Cindy in Houston, right? Very good. And Mandy in Waterford, California. Then we got Renee. Renee, what city are you in? Can't hear you, Renee.
Colorado Springs.
Okay, Colorado Springs, very good, Renee. And then Peter, our pirate friend. I'm sorry, Peter, that wasn't very nice. And Patterson, Sarah in Lodi, and Eric Johnson in Monterey, the Central Coast, California. And John Evans in Central Coast as well. He's one of our board members for Love Our Cities. And then Kim in Texas, New Braunfels, is that right? New Braunfels, Texas. I can never say that word very well
There's
either.
only one S in New Braunfels is an actual song.
Okay.
New Braunfels.
There you go. By the way, Kim, I just a little bit about literally 10 minutes ago, someone from Armadillo, Texas, just called me and said, "Hey, we want to get a Love Armadillo going." Is that Armadillo? That what's called? It's like
Amarillo.
Yeah.
Amarillo. Armadillo. Armadillo.
Okay, let's start over again. I can't. I should not be doing this today. I can do both. Jay in Fullerton. Well, he's just got a picture up. So
hello, I'm driving.
Hey, Jay.
Hi, Eric. Good morning.
Janice, brand new here from Yorba Linda, right, Janice?
Yes, Yorba Linda, California. We're pretty close to Fullerton and good friends of Placentia.
Awesome. And then Nathan from Anaheim, killing it in Anaheim there. And Ian, you know, Ian from Costa Mesa.
Hey, Ian.
Lynn from Riverside. And Corey Unger from Connecticut. Very good.
Corey shows up in the most unlikely places. Yep, I know Corey very well.
Ken Sylvia from Ceres, right down the road here.
Now, Jeff, you don't even know what Ceres means in Latin.
I have no idea.
Wheat.
I pronounced it right though. I just did that. What does it mean?
Wheat.
Wheat. How about that? Someone named their town after wheat. Go. Emmeline, what town are you from again?
Hi, sorry, I'm multitasking here. I'm from Los Alamitos in California.
Yes, very good. Awesome. And then Caden, I don't know if Caden, from Plow Organization, correct, Caden?
Yeah, hi, good morning.
Good to have you here, Caden.
Yeah, oh, can you hear me?
Yes, sure can. Had a great talk with Lizzie yesterday, so glad to have you on board.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And then who else we got? Then Raina. Raina, what city are you from?
I'm working with Costa Mesa and Irvine.
Okay, very, very good. Okay, that's who we got so far on this call here. All right, so here's what I want to do. A couple things. We're going to get into our two guests here. Number one is I'm trying to update some endorsements from your state and local leaders. And so do any of you have any great quotes from your mayor, from your city council person, from your state senator, someone who says, hey, you know, my name is this is what I do. And man, I just love what Love Central Coast is doing. It is the best things ever happened down here. Something like that. Do any of you have any quotes like that from your government leaders? Raise your hand if you do. All right. So we got 4 of you. So if you guys can just email me just that quote, that simple quote, I would love to include that on our Love Our Cities page so we have a little more variety of quotes we have on there. Second thing, our volunteer days are coming up quickly this spring. Those are planning on this spring are coming up very quickly. We've been talking about it the last couple of meetings. So we're not going to talk about it now, but in case you're not a part, if you have questions, if you have, just, I don't know, ideas, you need some suggestions, I'm here to help you. I'm here to hold your hand. So email me after the meeting here or during the meeting if you want. And then let's connect here later this week or next week. So I want to be able to be a help to you in any way that I can. I want to show you a video. Last meeting, we talked about me doing a video that you could show at your virtual rally, or you could put on your social media or put on your website, something from me that would say, hey, thank you for volunteering. Hey, you're a part of something bigger than just your own city. There's all these cities that are doing this, and thank you so much. So what I want to do is I'm going to attempt to show you this 1-minute video that I put together here. See if I can pull it off. Where'd it go, Jeff? It's always, you prepare ahead of time, and then when it's time to do it, it's always hard to pull off for some reason.
Murphy's Law kicks in.
Here we go. Okay, you guys ready for this? Okay, let me rewind it. We just tried it here. All right, here we go. My name is Jeff Pishney, and I love our cities. I believe that our cities are so much better when we are all coming together and working together for the good of our cities. I'm so glad that you are loving your city by volunteering. You see, volunteering not only helps make our cities better, volunteering makes us better as people and helps us to get to know and appreciate the communities that we live. I want to let you know that you are a part of a movement that is so much bigger than just your own city. What started in Modesto, California 13 years ago has now impacted and inspired cities all around the country to love their city in practical ways. Over these years, we have helped over 90 cities and have had over 200,000 volunteers. In the next 10 years, we got big plans and dreams that we're going to help over 1,000 cities all around the world. And you are a part of this movement. So thank you. Thank you for loving and volunteering in your cities. And I want to encourage you, don't just do this for a day, but love and volunteer in your cities all year round. Thank you. All right. It's something like that would be, help to you guys to inspire people. Feel free to use it. If it doesn't, don't use it. But seriously, if, in your virtual rally, social media, website, stuff like that, I think it could be a real, just encouragement to everyone that, wow, this is something that is pretty amazing going on, not just in our town, but other places as well. Hey, a number of you asked me about what's the update on our book that I've talked about in the past. We're writing a book, Eric Young and I, who's helped me along the way, this whole journey. And the name of the book's going to be Love Our Cities. Brilliant title that we came up with. We're getting there. I had no idea. I mean, for those of you who have written a book before, man, it is not easy. So right now we're going back and forth with our writer, and actually we're real close. I feel like we're really close. So then it's time to get, shopping for publishers and all that kind of stuff. I was wanting by the end of this year, from what I'm hearing for where we're at right now, it might be looking like next year, but I can't wait to have this thing in hand and to show it off to you guys. The main point of the book is really to tell our story, number one, to share principles that are transferable to any city on how to, love your city, to share practical ways. I think the majority of the book is about practical stuff. One of my favorite books is this one right here, The Art of Neighboring, Dave Runyon. I've really modeled our book a lot by his book a lot. There's so much practical ways that you can get involved in loving your city, as well as putting on a citywide volunteer day. In the book, we're going to profile, so many of our cities that so many of you guys as well will be profiled in this book too. So I'm excited. I guess we just got to be patient. We just got to keep moving ahead on this thing here.
Hey, Jeff, just a little advice. So I've done some books through publishers, and usually when you finish your book, then it comes out a year later.
A year later, yeah.
And they don't give you any marketing support. I mean, you just might get a little something. So here's what I suggest. So I think I told you I wrote this other book, but I've been working with data and analytics with the best churches in the US for the last 4 years. And rather than writing a kind of a book, regular book, I created a novel. So it's called 14 Fridays, A Story of Baseball, Church, Data, and Redemption. So I sent out a bunch of people. They made some corrections. Like I didn't know that college basketball had two halves or four-court, whatever it does. But I messed that up. So somebody corrected that. So rather than paying, like you say, you never publish without having a professional editor. Well, I saved $1,300 and then sent out an early draft, then everyone corrected it. But I mean, I literally turned it in and then books are available like 2 days later.
Wow.
And I suggest, because you have a network of people that will just want them, think about bypassing a traditional publisher and just doing it through Kindle. They do great work. I can help you with that if you want.
Okay, I know that's
But-
one of the options on the table.
Yeah, and the books, and you can buy them for about $4 a piece, which means you can sell them for like $10 and still do decently, you know.
Sounds good. We'll be talking. I know a couple messages too, so I'm gonna follow up soon. We'll hopefully be getting to that.
Okay.
Hey, the other thing is this, is social media. We finally entered into the 21st century. We got Lover Cities.
we could do it tomorrow.
Okay, we got Lover Cities.
Yeah.
Facebook.
So you're gonna take it home or?
All right, we got
I could leave it.
everybody on mute.
That?
All right, hang on just a second here. I gotta mute everybody if you're not on. Okay, everybody hear me? So, okay, so we got our social media pages. And one of the things that, you know, like, obviously in preparation for this book launch, we gotta get on social media here. And so one of the practical ideas that we have is wanting to profile each of our cities, and kind of letting everybody know about what's going on in your city. We're having like a city of the week we want to do. We also want to share, you know, just ideas on people to, you know, practical things of what people are doing in their city, things like that. But here's one of the things I want to show you here. I'm going to try to pull this off here. Here's an example of what I would love to have from you all. If I could, here it is right here. This is what Stockton sent us here. Oh, come on, Jeff. Where'd you go? Okay, here we go. You guys see this? This is our Facebook page here. This is what Stockton sent us. I'm going to play this for you here.
Hi, my name's Marguerite. I'm with Love Stockton. One of the reasons I love Stockton so much is it brings us together in community. It's an opportunity to serve together, to love each other, to get to know each other, and just to shower our city with love.
That's it.
Hi, my name's Marguerite.
That's it. So what I would love to have from each of you, a 30-second, just take your phone and say, hey, my name's this, I'm from this town. Here's what I love about, you know, love Fullerton or love Lodi or love whatever. And we don't want to, we're going to profile you as City of the Week. And it's, again, videos get all the views, right? And so perfect transition. Our first guest here, Brian Justin Marks. He is our brand new executive director of Love Stanislaus County. So he's focusing more on, okay, let me get out of here. There you go. He's focusing more on, you know, cities in our area where I live. And I'm focusing obviously a whole more on cities outside of our area here. But man, meeting Brian, he's been on board for 3 months now. He has killed it in our social media. I didn't realize how bad I was at social media until I met Brian. So he's gonna just give us some ideas, some real practical advice on how we can up our game. You can bring our social media to a whole nother level here. So Brian, take it away. All right, where are you at, Brian? We got to get you off mute here, bud. All right, we got to find
Here
it
we
here.
go. All right, sorry about that.
There you go.
Okay, so Jeff threatened to put Oscar music, playoff music, if I don't go too fast here, so I have to work through it. But sorry, what's going on with my thing here now? Okay, there we go. Sorry, my slides are going without it. So we're going to spend some time. This is a presentation that I've done for several years, but I've adapted it to kind of the purpose of what you all are doing with Love Your Cities. And I can't see you, so go ahead and shout out if you have a question. So I shrinked my screen, but what is the purpose of social media? This is kind of what some people miss out on. So social media is about conversations, community, connecting with audience and building relationships, authenticity, honest and open dialogue. Some people will say that, well, I'm not on social media because it's too dramatic. We can talk offline if you want about that. There's probably something else going on, because for what you're doing, this should be pretty simplistic about sharing and doing stuff. It's really marketing and social media is the base of everything we do. And the greatest part about social media is it fits everybody's budget because it's mostly free. So there's different platforms that we have to consider and look at as well. So how many of you, just by a show of hands, are on Facebook? Okay. I had a guest coming in that most of you be on Facebook, because Facebook demographics are about 44 to about 60. is what you see with Facebook. Most of your kids, if you have teenagers running around, you probably don't see them on Facebook. So Facebook tends to be an older demographic, and Facebook is a storytelling platform. So we're going to talk about post here in a moment, but when you post, Facebook allows you to put long stories and tell what you're doing. Switching gears to Instagram, that's how you mess up your pages if you do the 10-foot post with everything on it right there. Instagram is about visual. Instagram is about photos. It was created to see things, not to talk about things. So you can put small descriptions, but Instagram is the younger demographic. It's the most popular demographic right now. It's the most popular site right now, along with TikTok. So you want to have the combination of the two. I always advise people, for the purpose of what you're doing, to avoid Twitter. Twitter is garnering more and more, obviously, because of the national media garnering more negative support. It's a kind of a one shot, and many of the people in your areas that you're hopefully trying to recruit, especially volunteers, are probably not going to be big Twitter fans. Okay. So posting too often. So if you watch the video that we talked about, I'm going to walk you through some of the things. Posting too often is dangerous. And I use the eggs as an example. If you go to the grocery store and you're loading up your cart and you put the eggs on the bottom and then a pound of dog food on top or a box of sodas, you crush the eggs. And that's what you do when you post too often. So if you put a post up at one time and then an hour later you put another post up and then an hour later you put another, but all you're doing is pushing all your posts down and stopping the rhythm of your page. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. And again, this advice is different from how you would handle your personal social media, obviously. So when you look at your screen, you look at a screenshot of the, this is talking about algorithms. Understand that how social media works is everybody's page looks different. And so when you don't follow these rules, your algorithm drops, the algorithm that's used for social media, and you fall out of people's feeds. You become unrelevant. So the key to social media is to be strategic and to be posting in the right way and doing everything that the video talks about, because otherwise you disappear from people's lives. Some of you may see this in your personal Facebook pages when you think, oh, I'm friends with so-and-so and I haven't seen anything for them from a long time. And then you go over to their page and see they've been posting, but you're not seeing it. And you're not seeing it because they're not posting enough, or Facebook's deeming their post not relevant enough. So it's pushing it down in your feed, and it's pushing the more popular stuff into your feed, on top of all those wonderful commercials that you see, which some like and some don't. I do, like Jeff knows, that's where I buy a lot of shirts from. So to give you an example between the difference of posts and videos. So Love Modesto last year, in the years previous, the way that we thanked our sponsors online is we would simply put up their, their logo. So you see on the left here, this is the 2020 post of thanking Big Valley Grace, one of our big main annual sponsors here. So this post got a total of 13 likes and a reach of 263. When you look at social media and you click on analytics, it'll show you how many people reached from your post. This means people that have seen your post, they went through their feed and that. So depending on your population, you're going to want to have a reach of over 500 or more. So especially when you're doing sponsors, this can actually be counterproductive to appreciating your sponsor. So what we did this year is we moved to video, which is what the video that Jeff sent you talked about. So videos are the way to increase engagement on your page. So looking at this year, we just posted this a week ago. This was a post, same type of post, same organization, but this time we did a video with them, and it got 59 likes, 480 few views, and the biggest part was the reach, 907. So this one crushed it. In fact, this is our highest viewed video ever in the history of our social media. So that's the power and the difference between a video, because a video is going to reach more people in different areas. And again, at any time, if you have questions, feel free to jump in here. So posting videos and for events, here's another thing. So when you have your love event, one of the things that you want to avoid that people do is they do what I just talked about earlier. They post. So we just recently had a county event that was attended by about almost 90 people from the community. And we had 2 posts on the social media page. Now for us, we have, as an organization, we have 4 social media pages. So a lot of people tell me they don't have time to do all that. Until we get everybody trained up right now, I manage all 4 of our pages, in addition to being the executive director. Because we're training our staff how to get into this rhythm here. The post on the left here is a pre-post. And so this is what you want to do. When you're having your event, you do a pre-post. If you go to our page, Love Stanislaus County, on Instagram, you can see the video. And the video is 30 seconds. It's Crystal, who's our program director. Hey, I'm excited. This morning's the big day. Hope to see you all out here, yada, yada, yada. Post on the right, the post of, it was the post. And in that post, it was just thank you for coming out. What a great day it was. And you see the reach, you see the views and how well it worked for us. Both posts would be considered a successful post there. So the other part of the video talks about is what is good content. This is the biggest thing here is you want to avoid stock photos. When you pick a stock photo off the internet, especially if you just post a photo, which is a no-no, then what happens is that photo's been used so many times that again, it'll draw down the algorithm. Now you can't get away with it for a little while if you're putting graphics and things on top of it, kind of like you see to the left. But it's really important to try to build a stockpile of your own photos. And in fact, what we're going to be doing here soon, I spent 16 years working at our local community college here, and I'll be calling on a lot of students and some of my former employees to kind of help me out. And we'll be taking pictures of them, kind of acting out some of the things that we do so that we have some photos there. And then once we get out of COVID, we'll be rebuilding our photo stock so that we can have more pictures. And avoid just posting a pic. You know, you be intentional about the picture that you're using. So you see the one on the right, you know, that was a setup picture that we got the chalk on the ground. Gave her the young lady the heart. She was at an event, but we still got what we needed out of it. Pre-plan your posts. So no impulsive posting. That's the cardinal sin for anybody that's doing any type of professional social media, social digital marketing, is you don't want to be sitting at lunch, have an idea and post it. And we're going to talk about posting times in a second, but you want to get in a habit of setting up your post. So on the left here, for example, this is one post that was done by our graphic designer, and we're featuring every Wednesday the projects that we have for Love Modesto. So that's already set up for the entire run all the way up until April 24th when our event is. And as I'll talk about in a second, we have an app that posts us every morning for us. So that's a professional one. The one on the right, I talk at the bottom here about using apps. This was done. We did the same thing, but these were all created on my phone using an app. So you still get some of the same professional quality. So if you don't have a big team or you don't have somebody that's good at social media, this is also the easier way to do it. Engaging your audience. So looking for things that's going to engage them. One of the mistakes that we make sometimes is everything we post is about us, and you want to bring your volunteers, you want to bring the audience that you're trying to attract into what we're doing. So very similar to the video Jeff just showed you. We have those videos for Love Modesto. In fact, one's on there today, and it's doing very well, and it's just 20 seconds of why they love Modesto. Don't be afraid to be silly. People love this. They love goofiness on social media. It drives up engagement, and especially don't be afraid to do the behind the scenes. So when you're doing your event, don't be afraid of those taking a picture of the meeting and saying, hey, here we are, you know, here's Love Colorado, and we're getting ready to work on this and behind the scenes picture, or that morning when you're setting up, having pictures of that. It brings your audience into what you're doing. So you don't always want to be very stiff and just have things that just show this and that. Again, with your posts, celebrate your team, celebrate your work, holidays, happenings. So one on the left here, you know, one of our highest posts was just wishing one of our staff happy birthday. The one on the right, actually, this was fun. When you see that you're really taking off, you'll see people copying kind of what you do. So we posted Celebrate Women's History Month with our staff, and it was fun to watch over the next 4 days about 10 other nonprofits all of a sudden posting the same type of post. So that shows also that you're kind of on the same track. One of the biggest ones here is as you hit certain milestones on the people that are following you, post that and celebrate that. Take the Instagram logo or the Facebook logo and say, hey, we're celebrating 1,000 followers. We're celebrating 1,500 followers. And that lets people know you thank them, and it continues the engagement as you go through there. Stories is the one thing that is a little different. We talk about posting once or twice a day on your regular page. Stories you can post all day long. There's no rules to them. You can post, and that's what you want to do. So when you have your event, that's where you want to put everything. So what I've shown you here on the right is this is what it looks like, and you tap on this, you'll see a little plus sign when you go onto it, and you put your story in there. And some people go, well, the story disappears. No, you can create folders down here and save it so people can go back in there later. But again, the cool part is the stories don't mess with your algorithm. If you're doing an event or activity, you want to post like crazy in there. So I talked about the event, Every Child Matters. We posted about 15 posts in the stories within a 30-minute time frame, showing people videos and pictures of what we were doing at the event. And again, you can save those stories. So this is the other part. And what I like to do is alternate story and post, story and post. So today we might post about a project in the regular posting area, and then tomorrow we'll put it in the story. So then you're getting kind of surround sound of your publicity. So when to post, this is the biggest thing. This is the one that blows people's mind. 4 a.m. and 4 p.m. Unless it's an emergency or an announcement, you do not want to break the rule of 4. So 4 a.m. is because most of you, if you're on this page, some of you may not be a social media person. If you are a social media person, you know that the first thing people do, kind of like in the 70s, a lot of people that smoke before their feet hit the floor, they have a cigarette in their mouth. Well, nowadays, today with social media, everybody rolls over to the left or the right, they grab their phone and they spend an average of 30 minutes on that phone before they even get out of bed. And everybody gets up at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. So that's when you want to see that rhythm, because, for example, today's post about our video, what I want to see as a goal is I want to see 100 views by 8 o'clock, which we hit. That means that shows me it's going to be a successful post. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that alone for the most of the day. I'm not going to post on top of it because I want it to grow. If I was having a slow day, or if there's something I really needed to get out, then I might come back at 4 o'clock, because just like in the morning, we start getting off work at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. And after we get off work, we start doing the same thing. We eat dinner, and right about 7 o'clock, we begin to settle into our couch and our TV watching, and we grab that phone and start playing with it. So those are the studies that showed us how that goes. So you want to post it during those times. And again, you may not want to get up at 4 a.m. That's the time I just happen to get up, so it works for me. But there's apps that you can find on your phone or on the computer that will do automatic posting for you. First hour of engagement, you heard about this in the video. So what this means is in the first hour, they talk about that's what's going to drive your rhythm. What you want to get in a habit of doing is when you're posting, you want to let your audience know when you're posting. So if you're sending out emails to your volunteers or text messages, it's great to say, hey, we just posted new stuff today, check it out, give us a like. And that's what they're talking about. That's how you drive up your first hour engagement. So you just let them know tomorrow we're posting. We hope you guys will all check it out, things like that. The engagement part is the biggest mistake people make besides posting a lot too much. This is an example of another nonprofit in our community. They just won an award, and you'll see down here, we gave it a like and we congratulated them. You want to, when you're going through your page, you want to go through, and if there's a lighthearted story from a volunteer or somebody that's following you, you can comment on it, like it. If there is something that pertains to what you're doing, comment and like it. That's the engagement, and that drives up the algorithm, and it keeps you up at the top of people's feeds. And again, it's important to pre-plan your post, avoid just posting a pic. So what I mean by that is, so this one's okay right here, but a lot of times people will just post a picture of like a person. That's not the best thing. You want to put graphics on top of that if you're going to do that, because people will scroll past that and not look at it. Again, don't be afraid to be silly. Don't be afraid to take them behind the scenes. And then again, apps are always great for engaging. So that is the fast talking power version of this. Like I said, usually this is a 60 to 90 minute presentation. So I just kind of powered through it. I'll put my information in the box here, but also before I bail out of here for my next meeting, is there any questions that I can answer or anything like that? I did forget, I was told, you know, when I started speech writing that you always have to have a joke. So I will ask you, how do pirates prefer to communicate? Eye to eye. Eye.
You got that, Peter? Where did you come up with that joke with Peter this morning? Man, that
16 years at a college, the mascot was a pirate. So there you go.
All right. So if you have questions, we're going to transition here. Send it to Brian at loveourcities.org, and he's going to put that in the chat there. Brian, thank you so much. We're going to send out Brian's slideshow as well here in a follow-up email. So y'all will be getting that soon. All right, I'm going to transition. So I give Eric time here. I got to introduce Eric Swanson. So here's how I heard of Eric about, I think it was 2004, when the Externally Focused Church book came out. It was probably written in 2002, but it came out in 2004. And so when I saw that book was advertised, I think it was Outreach Magazine, and I was like, I was a college pastor at that time. I'm like, ooh, I want to get that book. And I used to read books like crazy. So I read that book. I'm like, oh, this book's incredible. I'm going to give it to all my staff, my leaders, my college group leaders and all that. And so I told my assistant, hey, make sure I want to order a bunch of copies and give it to all the leaders. So at that time, she was transitioning from my assistant to be the lead pastor's assistant. So she messed up. She ordered all these copies and she sent them to the elders of the church and said, you must read this book because we're going to talk about this book. This is what we're all going to be about. And so guess what happened? All the elders read it and the lead pastor was like, what happened here? The beauty is that our church eventually hired me to be the outreach pastor. They go, this is the way we want to go. As a church, we need to be more of an outreach focused church. And so You know, and then not too much long later, Eric showed up at our church. His sister actually goes to our church at that time. And he grew up in Stockton. I'm going to have him share more about himself, but I had him come and speak to our staff. And this has been, Eric, this has been what, 15 years plus now. Isn't that crazy? And I mean, he's been such a huge encouragement to me all these years of just trying to do the best I can do here. And he's been a huge encouragement to so many people around the country and around the world, for people who really care about their city. So Eric, go ahead and share a little more about yourself. And
Just let me camp on that. This is, folks, this is the Yoda of city transformation. I kid you not. He not only changed Jeff's life, my life, and thousands upon thousands of other lives, and cities just got in the way of changed lives. So this is the Yoda.
No pressure, Eric. Take it away.
Yeah, both of you guys are too kind. So, you know, Love Our City is based in Modesto, up the road from Modesto, Stockton, where I grew up. So I'm a Valley kid, so I understand what the hot summers are like, what peat dust was like, and Thule fog, and all the rest of the stuff. I want to, yeah, that'll be for another time. But thank you, Jeff, for the kind introduction. I'm a big fan of what you guys have been doing in Modesto for a long time, and yours, and I just want to champion it in whatever way. I want to start. I've got actually another hard stop at 10 my time, and so I can tend to talk really fast. And so what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna slow down, and I'll get as far as I can in my presentation, and then take the value from there. But I'm still gonna talk really fast. So I'm gonna share my screen, and you guys see that, right? You guys see that, Jeff?
We got it.
Okay, yeah, that's all I need. I just need a lot of information. But I want to talk about your church, and most of you come out of the church or your ministries as a platform. And I know Jeff has adopted this very well, but you may not understand what's happening behind the scenes why Love Our Cities is so powerful. But the big thing is, so churches today and ministries have three primary methodologies to connect and grow their congregates. So pipes is the first one. Pipes are designed for one directional flow. That somebody studies a passage. So manufacturers build around pipes, authors and speakers and content creators use pipes to get their message out. And then preaching and teaching at church, you know, we talk about delivering the message. So the process is the pastor does all the study, and then on Sunday morning, he delivers a 25 to 50 minute message on what he's learned. And that's just, here's what I've learned. Let me just deliver the goods to you. The second way is think about ministry as a portal. And portals are like your ministry fairs. Come and just look, just check around, grab a cup of coffee, and connect with the nonprofits that we work with and find your place of service. But there's no drive to it, really. And so the question is, could your church or your ministry be a platform? And you think, what the heck are platforms? Well, platforms are the most disruptive business model in history. And part of that is because for the first time in history, that the value is detached from ownership. And so today, the world's largest transportation company, Uber, owns 0 vehicles. The largest lodging company, Airbnb, there's more rooms available tonight on Airbnb than all the hotel chains combined, but it doesn't own any hotel rooms. The largest media company, Facebook, creates no content, and the largest retailer in the world, Alibaba, which is the Amazon of China, owns no inventory. And so you have to ask yourself, how can that be? And so all these platforms, all of them are platforms, and they unlock a different source of supply and demand. Is what platforms do, they help turn latent energy, something that wants to happen, into active energy. Much like windmills, water wheels, solar panels, they take something that's just passive, but they actually create something on it. So what exactly is a platform? A few years ago, we met a guy named Sangeet Paul Chowdhury, and he's the one that was told there's something happening with these companies like Facebook, go figure it out. So he really cracked how platforms actually work, and he's become a friend of mine. But he says a platform acts as the infrastructure that enables users to interact with each other and exchange some type of value with greater efficiency than users trying to interact on their own. So you get the slides, you can go back and look at that, and here's a few of his books. But so like basically the Yo Farmers Market that you have in downtown Modesto in the summer is really a simple platform. It's where people that have something to sell meet. It acts as the infrastructure where people can meet somebody that wants something to buy. And it usually works out pretty well. So a successful platform then is one that creates the conditions for and facilitates the most value creating interactions for the customer groups it serves. So there's four things that platforms, if you want to understand platforms, you have to understand four things. But first of all, a well-designed platform allows people to contribute and cooperate without having to partner with others. So like on Amazon, you can have very spiritual books, very secular books, sometimes dangerous books, but they're all on the same platform, but no one ever confuses it because you're on the same platform as, if you're selling, Jeff, when you sell your book on Amazon, it's not going to bother anybody that you can also have other books that are totally anti what you're doing. Because people understand you don't have to partner with somebody to benefit each other. Yeah, but also all platforms are designed around self-interest. For the city, the pastor wants community impact. The school principals want increased graduation rate. The mayors want, I need some stories of cross-sector collaboration. Educators, we want increased third grade reading levels. Job creators, I want to hire the hardest 5% of my employees. Artists, I'd love to have a public forum where I could paint about social issues. And donors, I want my dollars to move the needle in the city. So all platforms are designed around maximizing the self-interest of everybody that's there. And by self-interest, it's not selfish interest, but I want to get something done. There are four principles: participant energy, what's called the core interactions, scale, and then tools. And I'll just unpack each of these. But platforms are built around what wants to happen. And that's kind of a nebulous phrase, but you just sense something's in the air that wants to happen. Well, what is the participant energy that wants to happen with what we're doing? And so they don't make things happen, but they help things happen that want to happen. There's passive energy there. And what platforms do is they really catalyze that. So you think about it, whoever thought that 3 million people would want to use their own cars to be taxi drivers for Uber, or 650,000 people would want to rent rooms in their homes to strangers through Airbnb, that 2.5 billion people would want to be content creators on Facebook. So all these people, it's like they're willing and wanted to do it, but they never had a vehicle that released them to do that, So what platforms do is they turn passive longing into active energy. And this is probably the most important slide of the statement of the presentation, but how do you activate kind of latent energy? So in the church, I have one sermon, I think Jeff's probably heard me preach it, but I haven't been given the same sermon for 10 years. It's easier to change your audience than your message. But I'll always start by asking, how many people here want to change the world? Raise your hand. And every hand goes up because everybody wants to make a difference. God's put eternity in our hearts. And so it's something so the late energy in the church. So what happens sometimes, parachurches and nonprofits have been able to capture a lot of the energy that churches haven't been able to do so. And by the way, I think Love Our Cities has captured that energy that churches can't, the churches have been unable to do. But if you think about it, Ephesians 2:10 says that we're God's workmanship created in Christ Jesus to do, not to think about, not to value, but to do good works which he's prepared in advance for us to do. And the very fact that he's prepared those in advance creates a vacuum that longs to be filled. I was speaking in North Phoenix Baptist Church several years ago, and I was at that early 8 o'clock service with all the elderly people with gray and blue hair. And I asked, how many here want to change the world? And even these people in their 70s and 80s raised their hand. And I almost started crying because it was like, here these people have been going to church waiting for God to put them in the game, and they're still on the sidelines cheering. So everybody wants to change the world. And so how can we create a mechanism for them to do so? And that's where it does. So every oops, missed that one. But secondly, it's built around one core, what's called a core interaction. And a core interaction is something that creates value, sometimes a value for both parties. So Uber connects drivers and riders in the city in real time. That's their core interaction. It's the one thing they want to do. Airbnb connects travelers with hosts. Facebook enables people to post content and interact around that, consumers of that content in real time. And Love Our Cities is a classic platform. Jeff, obviously you're a very good student of this, but we exist to be bridge builders between those who want to help and those who need help. And so they put themselves right there. That's a perfect platform. And even they've diagrammed it down there in the lower right, people that have needs connecting with people that want to help through the platform called Love Our Cities. And so that's what each of you leaders are doing in your own cities. You're helping to untap the passive energy of people that want to serve and connecting with people that need our help in all the different areas, whether it be neighboring or the schools or our kids, et cetera, et cetera. So the core interaction, this is really, really important missionally, is what platforms want people to repeatedly do to fulfill the organization's mission. In other words, what you need to define in your city ministry, what is the one thing you want people to do that if they did it, that would fulfill our mission? So for instance, Airbnb, their measurement is not page views or likes or shares, but the measurement they want to, the thing they want to multiply, this, the core interaction is room nights rented. So they have, here's kind of how it works. Every organization has a mission from God. And even secular organizations, it's kind of like the Blues Brothers. We're on a mission from God, you know? And then, so it's sort of like if Jeff and I were saying, hey, we got this great idea to use people's, people only drive their car 6% of the time, 93% of the time it's sitting empty. What if we created some type of ride service, And I say to Jeff, do you want to drive? No. Eric, do you? No. Well, let's start an organization. So we start an organization that embodies that mission. And then what happens, we have to incentivize the drivers. So we say, hey, if you drive with strangers, you can get paid for that. And they come back and say, it sounds way too dangerous. But what we want you to do, because we want you to connect with drivers, create some value, and they give you feedback. So this is how platforms are built. And the last thing they have is that tools. And what tools do is they make that core interaction frictionless and common. So when the driver comes back and says it's too dangerous, I'll say, that's okay, because we can allow you to screen and look at who your passengers are. And for the riders, I don't know if I want to drive with strangers. Okay, we're going to create some tools so you can see how many rides this person is given, how they're rated, what they look like, what their car is, all that kind of stuff, so that it removes all the hesitancies of driving with strangers. The tools make that core interaction frictionless. And that's a very, very big idea, because the whole success of your organization is replicating the core interaction. So you want to have that happen as quickly as possible. So it's always connected again to the mission of the organization. Really a thought experiment. What was Jesus' core interaction? What was he trying to do? And you can take a bunch of guesses at that, but why do you call me Lord and don't do what I say? Blessed are you if you do these things. Whoever does the will of my Father, go and do likewise. Everyone hears these words and puts them into practice. Now that you know these things, you'll be blessed if you do them. So you might be able to build a case for saying Jesus' core interaction was turning passive hearers into active doers, just like James talks about. So it's always about conversion, right? From lookers to buyers, or from the curious to the doers, and growth. So for your church, your ministry, what might be the one core interaction you're trying to multiply and scale? And based on your mission, what are you trying to get people to repeatedly in your church do it, rather than just not coming to services? So it's kind of like the test is, if we do this action or attitude, value, habit, behavior, we fulfill our mission as a church. And it could be a bunch of different things. I won't go through all these things, but whatever it is, you've defined what it is you want to scale. In churches can be a platform in the sense that Sunday school, small groups can be their own platform, Sunday school can be, etc. But there it is. It's you have a mission from God that you want people to do with other people if you're going to multiply. So for city transformation, I've often thought that it might be one Christ. What we're trying to scale is one Christ follower helping another person experience life physically, spiritually, emotionally, relationally, economically, vocationally, a little closer to the way God intended it. God intended life to be. The third thing is scale, and scale, how organizations grow is by making the core interactions simple, repeatable, and common. So a scale is achieved by rapidly converting consumers into producers with the least amount of friction. And so scale is those who ride with Uber today can easily start driving with Uber tomorrow. Same thing with Airbnb. Facebook, you become a producer when you hit that like button. When you make a comment, you forward it, you become a producer of that content. And so Facebook's made it super simple. So from a gospel setting, can those who receive the gospel, how quickly can those who receive the gospel share the gospel? Can those who be taught teach others? Can those who are growing easily help others grow? And then can those who are participate in service include others in service? So one of the things I've suggested, and this would be an interesting experiment, Jeff, to see if this works, but could you do part of the service day to part of the community or part of your audience in the morning, and then take those who are served with you and serve another group of neighbors in the afternoon? Because people are fulfilled much more by contribution than just consumption. So just something to think about. But how can you become a reproducing organization even just a day? So obviously, this is how the mission of God's has been fulfilled, for the last 2,000 years. It's 2 Timothy 2:2. It's others also type of thing. So what could you do to build into what you do, opportunities to turn consumers into producers as quickly as possible? That brings us to tools, and what tools do. Ideally, platforms don't do any, quote, real work. Jeff, this is the great thing about you and your staff. You really don't want to be doing the work, but you want to create tools that make it easy and likely for people to do the work themselves. So there's no Facebook. All the content that's created on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is not created by the company. It's all created by the users. And so they sit back and watch this machine. It's just they've created the tools that makes it really easy for people to post content, like content, reproduce content, form groups, all that kind of stuff. So tools remove the friction, as much friction as possible, to facilitate the ease of that core interaction. And there's a reason why your Facebook site, and by the way, Facebook, your kids are on Facebook. They just don't post on Facebook because they don't want you to see what they put on Facebook, but they're looking at your Facebook. There's a reason why Facebook site is better than any business website in the world. There's no business website in the world that can do what you can do on Facebook. I mean, you can post text, you can post videos, you can post pictures, you can create groups, you can create private groups, you can do a live cast, you can share, you can reproduce. It's incredible because what they figured out is what do people want to do, and what can we make a tool that keeps people on Facebook. And so back in 2012, Wall Street Journal came up with the thing, and they just said, so here's like example of a tool. It was called the button that made Facebook billions. And when they switched from poke to like, that released all the endorphins that people get from being liked and liking other people. This is crazy. So a good tool that Jeff already mentioned, but is running in Pathic's little refrigerator magnet. And I think I talked to Dave last week, but he said they had 400,000 of these magnets that are sitting on people's refrigerators. And that little tool started people on a moving sidewalk of just getting to know their neighbors as names as the first step to ministering to their neighbors and expanding the kingdom. What you guys have at Love Our Cities is this date of April 24th, I think that's this year, is a tool to make non-missional people at least missional for one day, which starts them on a fantastic journey, because you never serve twice till you serve once. I pulled this from our friends in Colorado Springs, COS, I Love You Because I Love You, but they make it really simple to become a partner in what they're doing. 1, really big print, by the way, contact us. 2, we'll meet in person over the phone. 3, our team will help you register. Check out this tool. And so people are thinking, gosh, how can I get involved in this? Here's the steps. You know, the annual event kit, the Sunday kit, the getting started. They're just sort of a very clear path to turn passive energy into active energy. Even on their 2 calls to action, this is what that web page looks like. You can either donate or volunteer. How do you want to help us expand the mission? So it's not hidden someplace, but it's very clear. And I imagine you do some A/B testing to see which works in your city, but make it really clear to how do you activate, gosh, I'd really like to help these people. Wow, here's a donate page. You know, I'd really like to do something, volunteer. And by the way, if you look at the Love Our Cities website, it is so good because it has all these look for an opportunity to explore all opportunities, but increasing the possibility that those that are just looking could turn them into active energy. So that, again, this day, that becomes a tool that turns people that are on the sideline or sitting in the audience, and it puts them in the game. Because that's the active energy, that's the passive energy. God, I wish you'd use me. God, I want to do something with my life. And you've just created that wonderful tool in your cities to make that happen. So I was with Cru for 25 years. My background was Campus Crusade for Christ. And so here's a good example how these things come together. So the mission of Cru was the Great Commission in this generation. And the campus ministry, the core interaction was to turn lost students into Christ-centered laborers. That's what we wanted. The more we turned lost students to Christ-centered laborers, if we multiplied that core interaction, that's how we'd fulfill that mission. And so what happened is every tool that Cru made was to help turn lost students into Christ-centered laborers. So some of you, I came to Christ through the 4 spiritual laws. And there's 2 billion copies of the 4 spiritual laws in print. And many, many, many people, especially my generation, came to Christ just through a 4-step presentation of the gospel. The tool is so effective. In 19, or when I was, this was, gosh, 20, when I was 38 or so, we moved down to Costa Rica for 8 months to learn Spanish. And a month into my language classes, I started going on campus, and I just memorized a little spiel. It said, hey, I'm a missionary from the United States, coming here. One of the things I want to do is share my faith in Spanish. Can you help me with my pronunciation? And not even knowing, I knew what the booklet said because I knew what the words were in English, but not even knowing Spanish, I began sharing Christ with students. And they'd help me with pronunciation, but when it got to which circle represents your life, which circle do you want to represent life, here's how you can receive Christ, kids started coming to Christ. And so the tool was more powerful than me, way more powerful. I didn't know the language. The tool helped me. Tools turned the willing into the able. They never make unwilling people willing, but they do turn willing people into able people. Then what we had in Cru was something called 10 basic steps towards Christian maturity, and then these 10 transferable concepts. And so you'd say, hey, read this booklet, let's talk about it tomorrow. And by the way, the tool was so effective, everybody that's on staff with Cru probably had this experience at once if they're in the campus ministry, that they'd lead somebody to Christ and meet him the next day for follow-up, and that person would bring their roommate along. And he said, well, Tom, nice to meet you, but why are you here? He said, well, Bill came home last night and he's so fired up. I said, what are you so excited about? He said that I just became a Christian. And this guy shared this book with me. Then he shares with his roommate. He's just a brand new baby Christian. But the tool is so powerful, that guy comes to Christ and you start following up both of them. I carried along, I don't have this card anymore, but I put the kind of an outline of the gospel on the back of my business card. And when I exchanged, I just kind of saw that if somebody asked me about it, that'd be my opportunity to say, oh, this is the greatest story ever told. You know, it starts with God's love and a separation, Christ dying for our sins and how we can receive Christ. Just for an airplane conversation. But tools turn the willing into the able. In the old days, people would have, and you guys had them at your churches, but you had these high speed duplication tapes for cassette tapes and then sell them for $1 or give them away. So people would come out of the service and say, I got to have that message, man. My brother-in-law needs to hear this. And a lot of people, and what that did, that turned a lot of people into evangelists. Last year, the guy I worked for, Scott Beck, his dad died, and it went back to the funeral in Michigan. And Larry's testimony was that somebody gave him a tape by, he's a professor at Denver Seminary. And he wanted to make sure, Hayden Robinson, yeah. that this is the tape that he came to Christ. So in the bulletin for his funeral, he included that link for anybody. So here he is dead, and he's still using this tool to lead people to Christ. I mean, that's amazing. Saddleback discovered when they wanted small group leaders that they only had 200 people that met the qualification. But then Rick Warren said, well, what if we just had people that were willing to open their house, serve some light refreshments, and put in a cassette tape or put in a DVD? And so all of a sudden they had 3,000 people that could be small group leaders. So think about that, how important that is, just making the switch from who's qualified to who knows the Bible, then apologetics and blah, blah, blah. No, who can open their home and who can create a tool. So that was an incredible tool. The ALS challenge, real simple. Here's what you need to do to raise money for it. Wouldn't it be great though in a service if you had a church of 100 people and everyone had a Twitter account? And because of what I learned this morning, here's what I'm going to do. Not how wonderful and precious the message was, but if you had 100 people, each having 100 followers, that small church of 100 would have 10,000 impact. I think when you do these things, by the way, it's what we're talking about social media, ask all your people just to post something, had a great day today. If you had 1,000 people in your city coming out to serve, and each of them just say, had Facebook today, just had a great day, and show a picture. Then all of a sudden what happens, the collective impact of your church, that people become aware of what your church is doing. And when they get an invitation, oh, you're the church that did that wonderful school renovation or whatever, et cetera. Better tools, not necessarily more staff. I mean, Jeff, you've got a very, very small staff for the amazing impact you're having, but you're like Instagram, had 14 employees and was bought by Facebook for $1 billion. WhatsApp had 40 employees when it was acquired by Facebook for 19 billion. And so if you think of your job as a city leader or a catalyst or a pastor, but you have two jobs, the first one is to motivate people. And then secondly, provide them tools. All your time ought to be spent thinking, what tools can we create that reduce the friction for the core interaction that we want to happen, so that we can make that core interaction repeatable, simple, repeatable, and common. So define the one core interaction, this is your homework. And then what tools can you do to make that better? A few things by May. To learn more, got some good links here I think up right here, I wrote an article for Christianity a few years ago on, is your church a pipeline? That's a good one, just to kind of get more familiar with that. So Jeff, that's all I have to say. I've talked, I'm kind of bleeding over into my next meeting, but was that helpful? You guys, put up your hands if that was at all helpful to think about it. Because I think the biggest thing, you don't have to hire more staff, we don't have to work harder, but what tools, what do we want people to do? And then why is it so difficult for people to do it? Because they kind of really want to do it. So what tools can we make? And you just have to experiment, because it's not going to come intuitively to what it is. It's more like it's just helping them. It just reducing the friction. It turns the willing into the able. Having a shovel, if you don't want to dig a ditch, the shovel's not going to do you any good. You say, I got to clean my garage out and get rid of this thing. But if you want to dig a hole, there's no tool like a shovel. If you want to make an impact today, there's nothing like Love Our Cities. Working with hundreds of other people on all the different things you're doing. And we're not even talking about all the good that comes out of that, then all the ancillary good that comes out of that one day, because people say, why don't we do this every day? Then all the stuff is birthed in your own cities, these ancillary things coming out of that one catalytic event. And sometime, Jeff, you ever have me back, but I'll talk about why you create value by becoming a tactic in every church's strategy. Every church knows that they need their people to be serving, but they don't have the energy or the wherewithal to do it. So you insert yourself as a tactic and help them fulfill their God-given vision, and you become a blessing to them. So you've got a great place in that city. So anyways, I got to go.
Thank you, Eric.
Jeff, I'll send it. You guys can have the slides, and yeah.
Yeah, email me that, Eric, and then I'll send it out to everybody here.
Okay, outstanding. Great being with you. And I'm just a big fan of you guys. And I think this, by the way, is a catalyst. So the second thing about what you're doing is so important. before she died, Dana Garland, who is the head of the School of Social Work at Baylor University, her research showed that serving alongside your parents is the #1 factor of stickiness of teens adopting the faith of their parents. It's not Sunday school, it's not Bible stories, not praying with your kids, it's serving alongside. And so every church, if you understand that, you wonder why the youth aren't adopting this stuff, because it's all head knowledge.
Yeah.
But if you can create these things where all the kids just 20 years in a row before they go off to college, now 18, 17, 18, but they've always done this at least once a year. That's the sticky thing. And I think you need to kind of almost have this as part of your branding. I got to go. Bye, guys. Great being with you. I love y'all. Love what you're doing. Fantastic. Bye.
Everybody, thank you so much for this morning. And I'll be sending this email out here soon. Next month, third Thursday, and every month, 8 a.m., we're on here. Any questions or any ways that I can be a help to you, please reach out to me. That's what I'm here for. Thank you all. Have a great day.